They say the forest doesn't take what you give, it takes what you hide. He sacrificed his own daughter, but what he truly lost was his soul. This is the story of Chief Kunda, a man who wanted to become a god, but became one without a soul. They said Chief Kunda had everything a man could want: land, cattle, wives, respect. But what he wanted most was immortality. In the heart of the Obiri forest, power wasn't passed down, it was taken. And those who took it never spoke of the price. The elders called it the Pact of Black Soil, a ritual so ancient it had been erased from every scroll, banned by every priest, and buried by time. But Kunda wasn't a man who feared the old ways. He was a man who wanted to become legend. So one moonless night, he entered the forest alone, carrying only a goat's heart, a blade carved from human bone, and a secret too terrible to speak aloud. His youngest daughter, Naya, followed him. She was 12. She didn't cry, didn't beg. She walked behind him in silence, barefoot, in a white cloth. It wasn't until they reached the stone altar, moss-covered and soaked in centuries of blood, that she spoke. "Will it hurt?" she asked. Kunda looked down at her, and for the first time in his life, he hesitated. Then he whispered, "Only for a moment." The altar pulsed beneath them. It wasn't stone, it was alive. You could feel it if you stood too close. A slow, steady heartbeat, a rhythm older than language. The ground around it was blackened, not from fire, but from memory. Every leaf, every root, every breath carried the weight of past blood. Nia lay down without resistance, her small hands folded over her chest. Her eyes never left the sky. Kunda stood above her, blade trembling in his grip. The ritual demanded purity, not just of the victim, but of the intent. He couldn't doubt, he couldn't flinch. But as he raised the bone-carved knife, something shifted in the forest. The trees leaned in, the air thickened. Whispers rose from the soil, curling around his ears like smoke. She spoke again. "Will it make you a god?" Kunda's voice cracked. "No," he said, "but it will make me more than a man." And he brought the blade down, once, clean, silent. The forest didn't scream. It exhaled. The blood soaked into the altar instantly, as if the earth had been thirsty for generations. Kunda collapsed to his knees, dizzy, gasping. The ritual was done, but the power didn't come. Not yet. Only silence. Only her body, and the wind carrying her final breath into the trees. Kunda waited. Minutes passed, then hours. But the sky didn't change. No thunder, no lightning, no spirit rising from the soil to claim him. Only stillness, only guilt. He stood there, blood on his hands, staring at the altar that had devoured his daughter like a secret, swallowed by the world. His breath was shallow, his heart raced, but nothing happened. He whispered the final chant again, louder, then screamed it into the dark. Still, the forest remained quiet. He stumbled back to the village before sunrise, exhausted, hollow, haunted. No one asked where Nia was. No one dared. But something had shifted. At first, it was small. His wounds began to heal faster. His sleep became deeper. His voice carried more weight. Then came the dreams. He saw fire behind his eyes every night, heard Nia's voice not crying, but singing. The same lullaby her mother used to hum when she was a baby, over and over, until it twisted into something else, until it wasn't a song, it was a warning. The elders noticed. "You've taken something," one said, "but not what you think." Kunda didn't listen. He was stronger now, sharper, more feared. He thought the forest had finally accepted his offering. He thought wrong. Are you ready to find out what price the forest truly demanded? Hit subscribe and tap the bell, because what happens next will reveal the real curse Kunda brought home. It began on the 7th night. Kunda awoke to the sound of footsteps inside his hut. Soft, bare, deliberate. He grabbed his spear, rushed into the main room, but found no one, only a trail of red dirt and the smell of burnt milk. The next night, he heard whispering just outside his window, a voice that sounded like Naya, humming that same lullaby. When he flung the door open, there was no one there, but the earth beneath his threshold was soaked, not with rain, with blood. His wives stopped touching him. His sons stopped speaking to him. His cattle refused to eat. Every night, a new sound. Footsteps on his roof, whispers in his ear, soft knocks on his door just before dawn. He burned herbs, paid priests, slaughtered goats. But the hauntings only grew stronger. He began seeing her, first in the corner of his eye, by the river, near the firewood, behind the cooking pots, then clearly, in his dreams, at the altar, at the foot of his bed, always barefoot, always watching. And her eyes were not angry. They were empty, hollow, as if whatever soul he had offered to the forest had not been taken, but left behind, unclaimed. And now, that soul was coming back to collect. Kunda no longer slept. He feared closing his eyes, because every time he did, Naya was closer, no longer distant, no longer still. Now, she moved. She whispered things only a father should know. Her voice echoed from inside his chest, her breath cold against the back of his neck. The village began to rot around him. Crops failed, wells dried, children cried in their sleep and refused to say why. Women miscarried. The air itself tasted of rust and regret. The elders finally confronted him. You gave her flesh, one said, but not your soul. Another added, you didn't make a sacrifice. You made a deal without reading the price. But Kunda couldn't hear them, not over the sound of her laugh. It filled his ears even when he was alone. Sometimes it came from the fire, sometimes from the wind, once from his own mouth. He tried to undo it, returned to the altar with new blood, goats, rams, even a stranger's child. Nothing worked, because the altar didn't want more. It wanted her, the one he took too soon, the one it rejected, because power isn't taken from innocence, it's borrowed from guilt. And Kunda? He had borrowed far more than he understood. And now, the debt had come due. The villagers say they found him at dawn, naked, kneeling at the edge of the forest, hands buried in the dirt, eyes wide, staring, but seeing nothing. His tongue had been bitten off, his nails ripped out. Around him, the soil was carved with symbols, deep, precise, bleeding. In the center, a name. Nya. No one moved him. No one touched him. They built a fence around his body and left him there, frozen in regret, a monument of warning. They say he never died, that his heart still beats slowly in that kneeling body, that sometimes, if you walk past before sunrise, you'll hear her lullaby riding the wind, not sung, hummed. The elders stopped naming daughters after her. The forest closed its path. But the story, it spread to every village where a man craved more than he earned, to every place where blood was spilled in silence. Because Naya didn't stay in the trees, she became part of the soil. And now, every time a father holds his daughter's hand, he wonders if the earth is watching. Do you believe there's any power worth sacrificing family for? Or is the price always greater than the reward? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. If this story chilled you, watch what happened when every virgin turned to a prostitute overnight in this village. The darkness runs deeper than you think.